the lead singer of Enigma Norteño, and also the owner of the group, Ernesto Barajas, lost his life in Guadalajara as a result of an armed attack. Just a few hours earlier, he was active on social media, and just a few songs ago, he was a name welcomed with applause on stage. Now, he is yet another victim of Mexico's never-ending spiral of violence. But is this incident only the death of a musician, or is it part of a much bigger confrontation behind the scenes? That is exactly the point we're going to talk about today, because Barajas' death does not seem like a simple coincidence or an ordinary murder. For years, we've known how narco culture and the music industry have become intertwined, how artists have been threatened, and how cartels have turned even concerts into a show of force. Ernesto Barajas was not only known for his powerful voice, but also as the bassist who shaped the identity of Enigma Norteño. Founded in 2004, the group quickly climbed the radio charts both in Mexico and in the U.S. But precisely this rise made their destiny more dangerous. Because every song they sang, every lyric they wrote, whether they were speaking for someone or staying silent for someone else, could be interpreted as a message among cartels. Now imagine, a singer performs in front of thousands on stage, reaches millions of followers on social media. For criminal organizations wanting to control this influence, artists are not just musicians. They are also a propaganda tool. And this is why Barajas' death is not just murder, but in fact a much more complex equation. When we look at the details of the incident, it points to much more than a simple attack. In Zapopan's Arenales de Pedios neighborhood, two people on a motorcycle arrived and within seconds targeted both Barajas and those with him. Such a planned and rapid assault could not have happened by chance. Moreover, we know that Barajas had been threatened years ago by CJNG. That infamous banner is still remembered. Stop feeling protected by the Uckwills and Rana brothers. You will not sing here. So I ask you now, was this attack really a continuation of that earlier warning? Or was it the flare of a new confrontation behind the scenes? To answer this question, we need to look deeper into Barajas' life, his career, and most importantly, that dangerous relationship between cartels and the world of music. Because perhaps this murder was not only the silencing of a singer, but also a bloody answer to the question of which cartel's voice would be louder. The attack that led to Ernesto Barajas' death took place in Guadalajara's Zapopan area. As evening approached, Barajas, along with two friends, arrived in the area of a repair shop to park his car. At that moment, two men on a motorcycle silently approached their target. Within minutes, seconds even, the sound of gunfire erupted. According to eyewitnesses, the attack was carried out very professionally. The assailants opened fire quickly, struck their targets, and then disappeared without a trace. Initial reports indicate that Barajas died at the scene. One of his friends also lost his life, while the other was taken to hospital in critical condition. This shows that the attack was not random, but rather carried out with specific targets in mind. Because in Mexico's typical shootings, innocent bystanders often get caught in the crossfire. But here, the fact that specific names were clearly targeted strongly suggests careful planning. When news of Barajas' death spread on social media, fans and the music world were shocked. Just hours earlier, he had been active on Instagram, and now suddenly, in this way, he was gone. It became a tragedy that many found hard to believe. Especially followers of Enigma Norteño reacted by saying, "This must be a mistake." But once the incident was confirmed by official authorities, an irreversible truth was revealed. The first reactions did not come only from fans, but also from the entertainment world. Some journalists and independent media outlets wrote that this was not an ordinary murder, but the last link in a long chain of threats. Entertainment-focused sources such as Kamonic especially reminded that Barajas had previously been threatened in Culiacan, which is why he changed his residence and moved to Guadalajara. In other words, Barajas had been aware of the danger for some time, but even this move could not save him. One of the most striking aspects of this case was that Barajas had been threatened in the past by drug cartels. In 2023, a Narcomanda, a narco banner, released by CJNG openly targeted the artist. This banner claimed that he was protected by individuals connected to the Sinaloa cartel, and therefore would not be allowed to perform in the region. Following this threat, Enigma Norteño canceled their scheduled performance at the Rosarito Fair in Baja California. So there weren't just rumors, there was a documented chain of threats. Now the question is this. If Barajas knew about these threats, why did he continue performing in Guadalajara and try to live his life? Was he relying on protection he thought he had? Or did he believe the balance of power between cartels had shifted? because Barajas' death is not only the result of an attack, but also a signal of how cartel dynamics in Mexico reflect onto the stage. Ernesto Barajas' death is not just the loss of an artist. It is also a tragic example of how Mexico's bloody realities seep into the music scene. What we see here is that songs are no longer just a means of entertainment, but part of the power struggles between cartels. The corridos and Enigma Norteño's repertoire may sometimes be heard as stories of heroism, but in the background, they often carry hints of which cartel strength is being highlighted. This is why artists, whether they want or not, end up under the shadow of one side or the other. That is exactly what we saw in Barajas' tragedy. On one side, the rumors that he was under protection of the Uckwills and Rana brothers, allegedly tied to Sinaloa. On the other side, the open threats from CGNG, and in the middle of this equation stood a musician who only wanted to sing and be on stage. But in Mexico, maintaining that balance had become nearly impossible. Today, the most important question we must ask is this: can the music world ever escape the shadow of the cartels? Or will every new song, every new artist, continue to become the next victim of this dirty war? For audiences, a concert may just be a night of entertainment. But for artists, sometimes stepping on stage means choosing between life and death. Ernesto Barajas' story became the clearest example of this. One day, he was sharing posts on Instagram with his family, cars, and concerts. The next day, he was gunned down by two men on a motorcycle. This is not only a personal loss, but also a warning for society. Because cartels want to control not just the drug market, but also culture and art. So what happens next? Will Enigma Norteño continue, or will they fall into silence after losing their leader? Will this cartel messaging trigger a new wave of violence? The answers to these questions will emerge in the coming days. But one thing is certain: Barajas' name will now be remembered not only for his songs, but also for this tragedy. Though he left a mark on the history of Mexican music, he also became a symbol of one of the country's darkest realities. If what we've shared in this video interested you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, because in our next video, we'll go even deeper into the story behind this incident. Which cartel is trying to control the music world? Why are artists, especially those in the corrido genre, constantly threatened? And why does the state remain silent? Now, I leave the word to you. Do you think Barajas' death was only the result of a personal feud, or was it a reflection of the greater cartel war on the stage? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments.